The support help desk is a technical support function designed to give specialized knowledge about your production systems, to help identify and assist things in times of system change, and to help assist in problem resolution. Some of the typical support functions you might see are things like determining the source of computer incidents and taking corrective actions, maybe initiating, I should say, the problem reports and resolving incidents in a timely manner. They might even start the trouble ticket for the change modifications. They should be able to answer inquiries, questions regarding specific systems. They may be in a multi-tiered support where I have a tier 1, 2, and 3 type of help desk. They should provide technical support, and they should also communicate back to IS operations about any abnormal patterns or frequency of calls that they're getting. Now, the change management process is an important part because change control is something that should be handled by management and in place to avoid problems and outages. It's often thought of as moving changes or upgrades from a test environment to the production environment. And that's kind of what we're doing, because hopefully we've practiced the changes before we actually put them out. Now, change management can also be used when changing hardware or upgrading to an off-the-shelf program or application. Anytime we're introducing a change to the environment, there should be an approval process, a checkoff process, and at least some assessment about the potentials of what could go wrong. Now, some of the procedures that are associated with this migration process are there to make sure that things like your system and operation and program documentation are complete, to make sure they're up to date, and of course in compliance with standards, to make sure your job preparation and scheduling and operating instructions have all been established, that the test results have been reviewed and approved, that any data conversion that was done so accurately and completely, that your system conversion occurred accurately and completely and has the proper approval. The risk of causing an outage should be reviewed, and a rollback plan should be developed as a part of this process. Your software release management is a process where the software is made available to users. That sounds right. I'm releasing it to them. The term release often describes the collection of authorized changes, meaning if we went through the change control process and everything was authorized, we've released it. Now, the release type could be categorized as a major release. Normally, that's a significant change or an addition of new functionality. A major upgrade is usually designed to supersede all preceding minor upgrades. Now, a minor software release would normally be upgrades for maybe small enhancements and fixes. And of course, an emergency software release, those are normally updates that have corrections to a small number of known problems. They're often submitted as quickly as possible to try to prevent downtime or the potential of a vulnerability if it's something that is going unpatched. The plans involved in making a release involve things like getting a consensus on the release's contents. To make sure we have a release strategy that we agree on, it might even be done in phases, meaning rather than wholeheartedly saying tomorrow you're using this program, we could actually start the release in a pilot group to watch the effects, to get the training, and continue it on from there. Sort of a kind of a tiered approach. You want to have a high-level release schedule, right? What we're expecting to see as far as how it's released, where it's released. Planning your resource levels. This new change might take more resources or maybe gave some back, but we want to know what those are. We need to be agreeing on the roles and responsibilities about the release. And of course, like anything, if you're making a change, if you can, and things go bad, you want a rollback plan. You should have a quality plan designed for the release, not just, surprise everybody by pushing it out with Configuration Manager. Planning the acceptance of support groups and customers as well is something we should be looking at, because we want them to say, all right, yeah, we got it, we accept it, we know it's there, we acknowledge it, and, the rest of it. Your information security management has a goal to make sure that your continuous IT operation and security of business processes and data are going to be safe. This is a critical part of your operations. Security management is going to include things like performing risk assessments on information assets, performing a business impact analysis, developing and enforcing information security policies and procedures and standards. You should have regular security assessments, and of course, if you're implementing a formal vulnerability management process or not. Now you should have a program that deals with how to get rid of media. It's called media sanitization. Now this is a very necessary step to be able to preserve the confidentiality of your sensitive information that's stored on media, especially if it's media that's going to be reused, transported, or even if you're just going to throw it away. Now, I can tell story after story. One of the ones I loved the most was this gentleman over in England who sold a digital camera on eBay. And the person they sold it to got the camera and noticed that there were still photos on the actual SD card. And they appeared to be photos of things that were a bit of a top secret nature. And they certainly were, because he worked for MI6, which I think is that 007 type of agency. And then suddenly that story got kind of silently thrown away. People didn't talk about it anymore. So I'm going to guess it was probably really bad. There's another group that buys hard drives off of eBay and other sources just for the purpose of doing the forensic discovery of what people don't realize is still on the drives. And they've even published how they were able to find missile plans. And, it's just crazy stuff. So what we're talking about with sanitization is the permanent erasure of information that's stored on storage media. It's important that we make sure the information cannot be restored after it's sanitized. That means there should be a process of identifying that media which needs to be sanitized, and there should be a procedure for the proper sanitization of the different types of storage media that you have.